We're doing this today because it's exactly like equations, except for one situation. And this is where the last video ended. Let's pick up from here. Here's the last example. In this question, we have negative 2/3 x is less than or equal to 4/3. Remember, we have a fraction. The best way to remove that fraction is you multiply by the flipped version of that fraction times negative 3/2. The 2 on bottom balances with the 2 on top. 3 on top balances with the 3 on the bottom. The two minus signs make a plus sign, and it leaves you with x is less than or equal to 4 times 3 makes 12. 3 times 2 makes 6. There's one negative sign, so we're going to throw that in there. Let's reduce it. X is less than or equal to -2. Let's check that. The original question was negative 2/3 x less than or equal to 4/3. We said we can plug in anything that's less than or equal to -2. So let's do it with negative 2/3 of, we want to be less than -2. So let's put -3. And we're going to check and see if that's less than or equal to 4/3. We have a negative times a negative, so that makes a positive, and a 3 balances with a 3 to make the number 1. So we have a positive 2 times 1 less than or equal to 4/3. 2 less than or equal to 4/3. 4/3 as a decimal is 1.3 repeating. Is 2 smaller than 1.3 repeating? No, it's not. So that means we made a mistake. Let's try to solve this a different way. Negative 2/3 x is less than or equal to 4/3. How about this time, since this is negative, if multiplying by a negative didn't give us the right answer, let's add this. Normally we don't add, but this time we're going to add it. Negative 2/3 x plus 2/3 x, those balance out to make the number 0. 0 is less than 4/3 plus 2/3 x. We want x by itself, so now I need to move this 4/3. Let's subtract it from both sides. These ones balance out. 0 minus 4/3. 0 minus 4/3 is just going to be a minus 4/3. Is less than or equal to 2/3 x. Now let's get rid of this 2/3. The reverse of 2/3 is 3/2. So let's multiply by 3/2. 3 on the top balances with 3 on the bottom. 2 on top balances with 2 on the bottom. That leaves you with x on the right is less than or equal to, let's do the top times top. 3 times 4 makes a -12. 2 times 3 makes a 6. X is greater than or equal to -2. Let's check this one. We need x's that are greater than or equal to -2. We had negative 2/3, and then we need to put something in here that's greater than -2. So let's put 0. Negative 2/3 times 0 makes 0, and is 0 smaller than 4/3? Yes, it is. So, when you have a negative in an inequality, when the negative is on x, let's write this down. Option 1 is we just use an additive inverse, and we add that value to both sides, and then it's going to cancel out on one side, and it's going to stay on the other side. That's what we did here. Right here, we added our variable to both sides. We added the variable to both sides, and it made 0 on this side because this was negative. So that one made 0 and canceled out, but then we had the positive version left on the right side. Then we just needed to move the constant to the other side, and then everything was fine. But let's take a look at our answer. Our final answer, when we did it the right way, was -2 is less than or equal to x. Remember that. -2 is less than or equal to x. Let's look at the answer when we did it the wrong way. X is less than or equal to -2. X is less than or equal to -2. And when we did it the right way, we had -2 is less than or equal to x. What's the difference here? Well, what if I write it like this? The big side's towards the x, and then there's the -2. So these two orange ones are the same thing. Let's compare the two ways. The wrong way says x is less than or equal to -2, and the right way says x is greater than or equal to -2. Are these basically the same answer? Yes. What's the only difference? The way the inequality is pointing. So how we deal with that is, all we have to remember is this. When multiplying or dividing inequalities by negative numbers, you have to flip the direction the inequality points, or it's going to be the wrong answer. That's it. You could either add that negative number to the other side, or you could choose to cancel out the negative by multiplying. The first time we did it, it was -2/3. We canceled that negative out by multiplying by a -3/2. So the negatives do make a positive, but the mistake was we should have flipped this sign after that step. If we flipped the sign, then we would have had the right answer, and we wouldn't have had to do it a different way. So just remember these two things. If you have a negative coefficient, if x, or whatever the variable is negative, you need to do one of these two things. And I'll do one last example really quickly just to prove that to you. Our options are, we add this to the other side, then subtract the other number, the constant, then multiply by 5, to get our answer. Or the other option is when we just multiply this, when we multiply by the -5, we flip the sign. These two answers are equal. Thanks for watching.